Now let's start considering how to factor. Okay, our problem is this. Say we like to factor x squared plus 4x plus 3. Okay, now that is to say I have x squared plus 4x plus 3, and I like to know this is x plus a certain number multiplied with x plus another number. And our goal is to find the correct number that I can put in these two boxes. Okay, so I need to fill in a blank here and fill in a blank there. Okay. Now we got some clues according to the examples we did earlier that say this 4 is a special number, this 3 is a special number, in a way that this 4 really is the sum of those two, the sum of the two numbers in those boxes. Okay, so I'm going to put that down. The red box plus the blue box. The total should be 4. Okay, that is something we agreed upon before, and we also have observed in our previous problem. Okay. Now similarly, you probably already anticipated that, okay, 3 did not come from nowhere. This 3 is the product of the two numbers that are supposed to be sitting in the red and blue boxes. So these are the clues. These are two clues we like to use. So the two numbers I put in those two boxes, the total should be 4, and the product should be 3. Now, usually we recommend that we use the second clue first, which is that those two numbers, their product is 3, because after all, there are not too many numbers who multiply to be 3. Okay, so we like to consider the pair that will multiply to be 3 maybe is 1 and 3, or you say 3 and 1. You can also consider -1 and -3. After all, they also multiply to be 3. Now between these two pairs, whose sum would be 4? We make an observation. You probably have observed that, okay, 1 and 3, their sum is 4. Okay, so this one checks out. Now the other one doesn't work. So 1 and 3 indeed will be what we should fill in those two blanks. So I will do. So we use 1 here and 3 here. And our problem is now solved. Let me say it again, we consider two numbers, but I need a pair of numbers whose product is 3 and whose sum is 4. Okay, and I go after the clue about the product, because after all, there are not so many numbers who will multiply into 3. Okay. Now let's look at another example and see if we can have a better understanding of this method. So our next example is this. So we like to factor x squared plus 5x plus 6. So we do a similar thing. X squared plus 5x plus 6. We like to write this as x plus a number times x plus another number Now those two numbers, they are not random numbers because we have the following clues. This number 5 here should be their total. And also this 6 number here should be their product. we mentioned before, we'll consider the product clue first, because after all, not too many pairs of numbers multiply to be 6. But for numbers to total 5, there are a lot of other choices. You can do 5, 0, you can do 1, 4, and so on. You can even do like -10 and 15. Okay, so we stick to a second clue. Now, consider two numbers whose product is 6. We've got 1, 6, that's a choice. I can have 2, 3, that's a choice. Now, if I have 1, 6, I can also do -1, -6. If I have 2, 3, I can also do -2, -3. Now, if you think about it, there are really no other possible pairs of choices that other than these 4. Okay, now, if you just check every one of them, you quickly so check these 4 pairs against my first clue, okay, which is they have to total 5. So it's got to be this one. Okay, others would not work. Okay, so we quickly we have found this pair, which is 2, 3. So I put 2 in here, 3 in here. Okay. So my final answer is x plus 2 times x plus 3. Is that okay with everybody? Now finally, let me show you another example, then we should let you try a couple problems on your own. Okay, let's erase this. Say if we want to factor x squared minus x minus 12. Okay, so let's try to factor this quadratic form, x squared minus x minus 12. This is what we gotta do. You probably say, yep, we're gonna try something that's pretty similar. But that is totally alright. If you have been doing math long enough, you know that when you do math, you don't always do something new. You know, there's a big portion of time you're actually doing something similar in order to perfect your skills in problem solving. Okay, now in this case, let's say, okay, so the coefficient of x, we read here, this is -1, and this coefficient here is -12. So I would have -1 should be the sum of those two numbers we look for. Okay, so those two numbers, they should total -1. Now -12 will be the product of those numbers I look for. Now again, I'm going to use the second clue. Okay, -12. This is kind of special because if you want a negative number, then when two numbers multiply to be -12, they got to be one negative and one positive. So we've got quite a few choices here. For example, I can do 1 -12, but I can also do -1 versus 12. Okay. Now know that 1 times 12 is going to create 12, but then either one can carry a negative, so I actually have two different pairs. Similarly, you can do 2 versus -6 or -2 versus 6. Okay. Now this is basically 2, 6 with either one carrying a negative. Now you can also do 3, 4. I mean 3, 4 with 3 carrying a negative, or you can do 3, 4 with the 4 carrying negative. Okay, so in this case, observe that you have quite a few possible pairs of choices, but since we need to check them against the first clue, which is the total of these numbers are -1. Let's see if this one works. This one doesn't work. Though they don't, this pair doesn't total -1. This pair does not total -1. This pair does not total -1. This pair does not total -1. This one does. Check. So 3 and -4 will be my only possible choice here. So I will put 3 and -4 here. Now our final answer is going to look like there's x plus 3 times x minus 4. Did you get the answer? Now, if this is still a little hard for you, you probably need to rewind the tape and see the exercises again. Okay, but if you feel that you're ready, we're going to give you some exercises. Okay, so this is time for you to pause the video and try to solve these 3 problems on your own. Okay, now let's show you how to solve these problems. Now for the first one, I need to look for 2 numbers. Oh, by the way, I'm skipping these boxes. I feel that after you solve this problem for a couple times, it's probably not necessary to use these boxes anymore. But basically, we look for 2 numbers. They total 7, and their product is 10. Now, it is not too easy to have 2 numbers multiplied to be 10. We can probably write down our choices. You can do 1/10, all right? You can do -1, -10, all right? You can do 2, 5, or you can do -2, -5. Now, of these possible choices, the 2 numbers, the pair, should total 7, okay? So this is my choice, 2 and 5. So we got x plus 2 and x plus 5. Okay, now the second problem, x squared minus 9x plus 14 equals that. So say I look for 2 numbers, they multiply to be -9, they total -9, but they multiply to be 14. Okay. Now to write 14 as a product of 2 numbers, we got barely a few choices. There is 1 versus 14. There's -1 versus -14. There's also 2, 7, or -2 and -7. Of all the 4 choices, I look for 1 pair that totals -9. Now it's going to have to be this one, -2 and -7. So the answer is x minus 2 and x minus 7. Now the final example, x squared minus 6x minus 16. We look for 2 numbers. Their product, their sum is -6 and their product is -16. Now to find 2 numbers that multiply to be -16, we've got a few choices. We've got 1 versus 16. One of them should carry a negative. I've got 2 times 8. 2 times 8, one of them carrying a negative. Those are 2 pairs. I also have 4 times 4, one of them carrying a negative. Now in this case, I don't need to write another pair because it's 1, 4, 1, negative 4 anyways. Okay, now of all the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pairs, which one would total negative 6? Well, not this one. Well, not this one. Also not this one. This one is going to work. 2 minus 8 is negative 6. Okay, so 2 and negative 8. Would be what we look for. Now, were you able to get the answer?